All right, so we have another work day today, but today we're focusing on kind of refining our idea, figuring out what it is we really want to do. Yesterday I asked you to create 3 thumbnail sketches. Those could be 3 of the same design, just different variations of it. Or you could just do 3 completely different designs, whatever you chose. You could practice radial tints and shades or alternating tints and shades like this one in the pizza slices. Just remember, you should not have any more than 5 transitions, or any less than 5 transitions. And you want to have no less than 6 pizza slices. When you have selected one of your 3 designs, I want you to go find something in your house like a Gatorade bottle or a Coke can or just a regular glass that you would put water in. And I want you to trace a nice even circle like you see here. Within that circle, you're going to select one of your 3 designs to work on and finalize. You're going to figure out what the final idea is going to look like. I want you to map out where your tints and shades are going to be. So in this case, I'm going to have my tints and shades alternating within the slices. So this would be a shade, this would be a tint, shade, tint, shade. I want you to write down where your tints and shades are going to be. If you're doing a design that is radial, like this one, your tints and shades are going to be written inside each transition. Okay? Then, finally, what I want you to do is I want you to figure out if you're going to go with an analogous color scheme, a split complement, double split complement, or a triadic. You have to figure out which of these 4 you're going to go with, and then within that you're going to have to choose what color scheme, what colors you want to go off inside of that color scheme. For me, I'm going to pick a triadic color scheme because I feel like just for demonstration purposes that's going to be nice and easy to visualize. What you'll need today is you'll need water and you'll need your watercolors. I'm using a different set from you, but don't worry, that's okay. So I'm using my primary colors. I want to choose my primary colors. And like I'm doing here, I'm writing down everything I'm going to do on my final. And I want to be able to map out everything I'm doing. That way it doesn't get confusing. I don't forget. All of it's written down for me clearly in my plans. So I'm going to use yellow. I'm going to use red. And I'm going to use blue. So that's my color scheme that I want to go with. Now, if you want to create tints of these colors, remember that creating tints within watercolor just means that you're adding more water to your color. I said yesterday that we're going to do a worksheet together, kind of like a practice with watercolors. I'm going to have you practice with watercolors on your template here. So what you have in front of you should be, mine's super messy, but should be like a watercolor palette. You should have your watercolors in front of you. One thing that I would suggest doing when you're creating the colors that you want to choose is pour some water into, I have a little center pocket here that I can pour my water into, but you guys have all these little divots that you can pour water into. I would encourage you to pour water into those divots, and then you can take whatever color you'd like, get it wet, and add it into those divots to create just a pocket of color, like a large quantity of color. This is a much larger divot than all the other ones. It shouldn't take you very long to fill up one divot with one color. If your palette's messy because you're using it with acrylic, definitely go wash that out or peel off the acrylic if it's dried. Try and keep that clean. Okay, so the reason you want to have a section with just one individual color is because when we start working on our last little template, you're going to want to work and practice working one color at a time. Remember yesterday I talked about working one color at a time. That's super important on this project. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. And pretend like I had a pocket. This is too dirty for me to use, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going to set it aside. Just pretend like I had a pocket of red that I wanted to use, and I'm getting ready to color all my tints of red in here. So what I would do is I would grab that color and I would start mapping in. I gotta make sure I'm in my tints because that's where I'm gonna have my red. I'm going to start mapping in where I want all my reds to go. And I'm just going to make this up. I think I'm going to have it alternate within each within each transition, just to make this demo easy to follow along. So you got to be very careful with your watercolors because wherever you make a mark is where that watercolor is going to go. So I have 3 colors in my primaries, so red, yellow, blue. This one's going to be red again. I'm still staying within my tints. I'm going to try and keep this red color consistent, or as consistent as possible. It doesn't matter too much if you go outside of the lines because this is your practice. But it is good practice with watercolor because we haven't been using it. Okay. Our areas are much smaller, so it's not going to be too big of a deal keeping the colors consistent, I don't think. You're working on watercolor yourself. I'm just working out of a notebook that has watercolor paper in it, and it seems to be keeping the color relatively consistent, as you can see. Keeping those edges hard and staying within the lines. All right, I just have one more section of red, and then I want to show you what I mean by not having colors bleed together, working on colors that are not going to touch one another. So let me finish this up. Okay. So that's all the red that I'm gonna have to use. I'm gonna clean off my brush, and I have a little bit of black in this palette, so I'm gonna use that. Oh shoot, mistakes happen, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, I spilled everywhere. Okay, ignore the spills. Mistakes happen. Trust the process, as one of my students used to say. So you'll see there's areas where only the corners of colors touch. So I'm gonna look, I said it was gonna go red, red, yellow, blue. So this whole ring is gonna be blue. So this is all gonna be red, yellow, and blue. So I'm gonna start with either my shade of yellow or my shade of blue. And since I have blue already wet, and I have a little black in my palette over there, I'm gonna use that. You know what? No, I'm just gonna use the complement of blue, which is orange. So I'll have to mix my orange. Let's do that real quick. So remember, you can create shades by creating neutral colors, and neutral colors can be created by mixing together your complementary colors together. Ooh, my colors are so dirty. Just give me a minute while I mix this together. There we go, I'm getting a nice neutral color by mixing my orange and my blue together. So I have a nice shade of blue. That is gonna go in my shade section. Notice how I've chosen a color. Oh, I want that to be a little more blue. It's a little too green. Notice how I've chosen a color that is kitty corner of the red. I did this on purpose so that I have less of a chance of those two colors bleeding or touching one another. It's okay for you to write out your plans underneath each color like I did here. It's not all right to do that on the final because that pencil will show through your watercolor. So that's why we kind of plan it out and we do a practice one here so that on the final you don't have to write anything to give yourself a guide. You already have a visual guide on the back of your paper. Again, make a pile of every color, work one color at a time. Save yourself the trouble of having to remix those individual colors. And voila, we're off to the races. So what I'm hoping we can get done by Friday is, if you haven't finished your templates, if you haven't finished your smaller sketches like these, then make sure you get those done today and you get started on outlining your final on this. And then when you're done with this, then you can start flipping over your paper and starting to pencil in the final design on your final paper. If there's any questions, please shoot me some of those questions in the Google Meet. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish this on a time lapse, and then I'll collage the two videos together. So I'll see you guys at Google Meet, and let me know if you have any questions.